I do believe Jamar Chase deserves the money. He's going to get the money. You can't knock him for asking for that money. And he went out this season when he was crying about it in the offseason after Justin Jefferson got his money. And he said, listen, I'm just as good as Justin Jefferson. I can put up the numbers that Justin Jefferson put up. And boy, did he ever. Now, Justin Jefferson this season obviously still had a very good season, but Jamar Chase had an exquisite season as far as the numbers are concerned. When you look at these wide receivers and what they're getting paid, it's going to hurt the cap moving forward because it's just going to get larger. And I understand the cap is going up. It's going up significantly. But when you have to pay a quarterback a significant amount of money, now the average quarterback is making $50 million a year. If you're an elite quarterback, not even an elite quarterback, a top 12, 13 quarterback, you're making $50 or more million. Look at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been a top 15 quarterback in 2 years. He just got $55.5 million to a team that's looking to trade him now after one season. I mean, it's crazy how much these guys are getting paid. There's a lot of money being invested into the quarterback and wide receiver. You're talking about Joe Burrow making $55 million going into this coming season. You're going to pay Jamar Chase between $40 and $45 million. That is $100 million of your team's spending. Now, that is over almost a quarter of your team's money for 2 players. You still have to pay other players. So if I was Trey Hendrickson, I wouldn't be happy. I had a 17.5 sacks this year. Yes, I'm getting older. I'm 30 years old. I'll probably be 31 at the end of next season. If you lose Trey Hendrickson, where are you getting the pass rush? Where are you getting those kind of numbers? That's, if you're looking at the big picture, that is going to be the problem. And then you have T. Higgins that you're going to have to pay close to $30 million. Now you have 3 players making about $130 million of your team's money. I just think this is not going to help this team when it comes to the future. I love Joe Burrow. And when you have a player like that, it can change everybody and everything. I just worry how this all is going to be put together and work. And especially with the coach that you don't even know if you're going to have after next year. There's a lot of questions to this team. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. I pulled the trigger on Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, as much as I love him, I think you let him go and side Trey Hendrickson. That's the way I would go if I was an organization running and trying to figure out how I'm going to compete against the teams in my division, which is probably, you can argue, the best division in football. How does this work if I'm the Bengals right now and they look at all 3 of these players making that kind of money,
right,
and they're so weak in the defensive side of the ball, and they have Taylor really crawling to the finish line. And I mean next year, if this team doesn't make the playoffs and make a run next year, Taylor's gone. There's no way they keep him because this is a team that's ready to win now. And Jamar Chase is getting to that point in his age. I know he's still young. What is he, 25, 26? How many good years does he have as a wide receiver before his knees go or his ankle goes or he tears his Achilles and he's not the same player? That's the problem when it comes to playing on turf. And I've said this many, many times. You're investing this kind of money into a player that could be down and out next year and might not be the same player. And then you have to overpay these guys because when they come back, they're not the same player. So that's the only thing that worries me about this. I'm not saying that Jamar Chase isn't worth it. I'm not saying T. Higgins isn't worth it. But you see Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has one good year and then one bad year because he can't stay healthy. You're going into a year now where Joe Burrow usually is not consistent. So you're going to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and start looking at yourself wondering, is this the move to make? And is this good for the future for the Cincinnati Bengals if this doesn't work?
It was like 4 or 5 years ago when the Bengals were challenging for the Super Bowl. Lou Anarumo was considered one of these head coaching candidates. And we see it all the time that these defensive coordinators, they have a year or 2 that's good. The league figures them out, and then they never adjust, and they're useless. This is what happened. They were the 27th ranked defense in defensive DVOA last year. They were pretty terrible defensively, objectively to the eye test and by the advanced stats. So what does that leave you to do? pay T. Higgins the top 10 salary when you're going to pay Jamar Chase a number 1 salary at receiver and you have a top 5 paid quarterback? What are you, stupid? You got to go pay on defense. BJ Hill's going to be a free agent as well. He's one of their better defensive tackles, former Giant,
Yep.
who they should have never let go. He's probably
well,
not
they
gonna
didn't
be
know
there.
he was going to be as good as he
Of
is
course
now.
they
They also
didn't,
had
but
enough
still,
defensive tackles at the time too.
you say that, but they could have paid him a lot less than they paid some of the guys
Sure.
and still been pretty good, right? So the Giants haven't made any good decisions.
By
But
the way,
Bengals spending on
another
offense.
another Gettleman guy, just so you know. So just
Yeah,
wanted to
well,
add
I
that.
mean, not that he knew what the fuck to do with him, but Hendrickson is the one that bothers me. That guy is team captain. That guy can't leave. You have to pay that guy enough that he'll stay. You don't have to pay him necessarily top of the market because he's a little older, but you know that the production, what are you going to get for him? You know, you're going to get like a 4th-round pick for a guy that had 17 and a half sacks. No, you need to pay this guy. You got to keep him around. You need to get to the quarterback. If you already suck at getting to the quarterback, you can't get rid of the one guy on your team who's good at it. What are you going to be next year? It doesn't matter if Joe Burrow throws for 6,000 yards, Jamar Chase has 20 touchdowns. You're still going to be in a 500 team because you can't stop a freaking fly. You know, you can't do anything. You suck on defense. Spend on defense. T. Higgins is a great player. The NFL is not set up for 2 guys to get paid $70 million at the receiver position and 50 at the quarterback position. I don't care if the cap has gone up a lot. That's half of the entire cap, even with it going up that much. It makes no sense. Spend on the defense. Zach Taylor doesn't know anything about defense. That's why they're in this position. I think you're right. Zach Taylor's gone after this year. I don't see them doing this correctly defensively, and it's probably going to be a very similar season for them